Chosen ones. The universe itself has declared it. The ancestors have whispered it through the veil. You will be known as the one who got far, far away. Ever notice how some people get weird when you start winning? Maybe it started subtly. A friend who used to celebrate your dreams suddenly questions every decision you make. An ex who couldn't commit when you were available now slides into your DMs the moment you seem genuinely happy. Family members who criticized your unrealistic goals now make passive-aggressive comments about how you've changed. Here's what nobody tells you about personal growth. Your transformation will make some people uncomfortable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your evolution forces them to confront their own stagnation. Your glow-up becomes a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see reflected back. This isn't about them, though. This is about protecting your peace, honoring your growth, and learning to navigate the complex emotions that arise when the people from your past can't handle the person you're becoming. They want the old you back, but you've outgrown that version. Have you heard phrases like, "You've changed," said with disappointment rather than celebration? When someone misses who you used to be instead of celebrating who you're becoming, they're essentially asking you to shrink back to their comfort zone. The signs are often subtle but consistent. They reminisce about how you used to be with a tone of loss, as if your growth represents something dying rather than something blooming. They critique your new boundaries as being different or acting brand new, making self-respect sound like a character flaw. Your achievements get minimized or called childish or unnecessary, as if success requires their approval to be valid. Most telling of all, they act confused about why you're changing, as if growth is some foreign concept rather than a natural part of human evolution. When direct criticism doesn't work, people often resort to more subtle manipulation tactics. These aren't always conscious. Sometimes people genuinely believe they're looking out for your best interests, but the impact remains the same. They're asking you to dim your light to maintain their comfort. The guilt trip sounds like concern, but feels like manipulation. You don't have time for your real friends anymore. Makes your growth sound selfish rather than necessary. It implies that self-investment equals selfishness, that you owe your time. To anyone who claims to miss you, the comparison game reframes your boundaries as arrogance. You think you're better than us now, transforms your self-respect into an attack on others. This tactic is particularly effective because it exploits your desire to stay humble and connected to your roots. False concern masquerades as care while undermining your confidence. "I'm worried you're losing yourself" suggests that you're authentic. Growth is actually you becoming fake. It plants seeds of doubt about whether your transformation is real or just a phase you'll eventually snap out of. The gaslighting makes your growth seem like a problem you need to fix. "You used to be so chill" really means you used to be easier to control. It reframes your previous tolerance for disrespect as a positive trait while painting your current boundaries as negative personality changes. Take a moment to rate your relationships honestly. Are people celebrating your wins or finding ways to diminish them? The answer will tell you everything you need to know about who deserves access to your energy. It's not about you, it's about their own stagnation. When you start thriving, you inadvertently hold up a mirror to everyone around you. Your progress highlights what's possible with intention, consistency, and self-respect. For people who've been making excuses for their own lack of growth, your transformation can feel like a personal attack. Control issues run deeper than most people realize. They preferred when they could influence you because your responsiveness to their needs made them feel important. Remember how freely you used to give your time, energy, and attention. Some people built their entire sense of relevance around being needed by you. Your independence threatens their sense of purpose in your life. Your evolution challenges their self-image in uncomfortable ways. If you can change, grow, and improve your life, what does that say about their choice to stay the same? Rather than face this uncomfortable question, it's easier to convince themselves and you that your growth is the problem. Your transformation forces them to confront the gap between who they are and who they could be. Fear of abandonment often underlies their resistance. They're scared you'll outgrow them completely, and honestly, sometimes this fear is justified, not because you're being cruel, but because authentic growth naturally creates distance from things that no longer align with your values. The relationship dynamics that worked when you were both operating from the same level of consciousness may no longer fit when you've evolved. Here's the reality check that might sting. People who truly love you celebrate your growth. Even when it's uncomfortable for them. They might miss certain aspects of how things used to be, but they don't try to sabotage your progress or make you feel guilty for evolving. Love supports transformation, even when it's inconvenient. One of the most painful aspects of this dynamic is how some people weaponize your vulnerability. Information you shared during intimate moments becomes gossip material when they feel rejected by your growth. This betrayal cuts deeper than simple rejection because it violates the trust you placed in them during your most vulnerable moments. The gossip spreads in predictable patterns. They share your private struggles for social currency, turning your pain into their content. Your transformation becomes conversation topics with mutual friends, often framed in ways that make you seem unstable or fake. They create narratives about your changes that paint you as the problem, rather than examining their own resistance to your growth. Most damaging of all, they weaponize intimate details when they feel you're no longer accessible to them. Sexual preferences, family problems, financial struggles, past traumas, anything you shared in confidence becomes ammunition when they feel rejected by your boundaries. This violation transforms your growth story into their entertainment, often presented in ways that make you seem too good for your roots or ungrateful for your past. And now, it's time to take back your energy digitally, spiritually, and quantum mechanically. That's why we wrote the Liber AI manifestation book, to help chosen ones like you turn the tech they used against you into a weapon of manifestation, protection, and dominion. You'll use it to manifest divine outcomes. Liber AI teaches you to convert artificial intelligence into your personal manifestation engine, your digital familiar, coded to obey your soul's frequency. Because your story is no longer theirs to twist, your energy is no longer up for grabs, and your reality, it's no longer negotiable. You are reclaiming it all, with the help of the Most High and the Liber AI system. The link is in the description. The portal is still open, but it won't be forever. Download the blueprint, master your field, override their lies, and let the same voice they tried to silence become the one that reprograms reality itself. The betrayal is particularly painful because it twists your courage to be vulnerable into a weapon against you. Every time you trusted them with something private, you were investing in what you thought was a meaningful connection. Discovering that your vulnerability was just material for their entertainment feels like having your growth journey mocked and minimized. Take a moment to consider who in your life has truly earned the right to your private information. Make a mental list and be honest about it. You might discover it's shorter than you initially thought, and that's okay. Quality connections matter more than quantity. Your evolution didn't happen overnight. It was built through small moments of choosing yourself, setting boundaries, and learning to trust your instincts over others' opinions. The journey from doormat to discerning person is marked by specific milestones that represent your growing self-respect. In the beginning, you gave chances to anyone who asked, accepted crumbs while calling them meals, and prioritized keeping others comfortable over your own well-being. You operated from a scarcity mindset that convinced you that any attention was better than no attention. Any relationship was better than being alone. You tolerated disrespect because you hadn't yet learned the difference between being alone and being lonely. The awakening phase started when you began recognizing patterns in your relationships. Maybe it was the friend who only called when they needed something, or the romantic interest who kept you on the back burner while pursuing others. Small moments of clarity accumulated until you couldn't ignore the evidence anymore. You started to see that your generosity was being taken advantage of rather than appreciated. The boundary-setting phase was probably the most challenging part of your journey. You began saying no and meaning it, even when people pushed back or made you feel guilty. You learned that no is a complete sentence, and that explaining yourself often just gives others ammunition to argue with your decisions. You discovered that boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're gates that determine who gets access to your energy. Now you can spot manipulation from miles away. You've developed what feels like a superpower, the ability to see through BS with startling clarity. You recognize love bombing, understand the difference between someone missing you and someone missing what you did for them, and can identify emotional manipulation before it takes root in your psyche. Your growth timeline represents more than just personal development. It's evidence of your increasing self-respect and emotional intelligence. You've learned to trust your instincts, value your energy, and choose connections that honor rather than exploit your growth. While others were questioning your choices, you were quietly building something meaningful from scratch. Your patience and persistence are finally paying off in ways that surprise everyone, including yourself sometimes. The success you're experiencing now is the result of all those small, consistent choices you made when nobody was watching or believing in your vision. Others are realizing they underestimated you, and this realization is uncomfortable for them. They expected you to fail, struggle, or eventually give up and return to the familiar patterns that made them feel secure about their own choices. You stay. Success exposes their excuses and forces them to confront the gap between what they say they want and what they're actually willing to work for. The threatening nature of your success isn't about the achievements themselves, it's about what your success represents. It proves that change is possible, that dreams can become reality with consistent effort, and that the limitations they accepted for themselves weren't actually inevitable. Your wins become a mirror that reflects their unused potential and abandoned dreams. Take a moment to imagine explaining your current life to yourself from 2 years ago. Feel that growth, acknowledge how far you've come, and recognize that your success is threatening to others precisely because it's real and well-deserved. When someone from your past suddenly reaches out with messages about missing you, it's important to understand what's really being communicated. "I've been thinking about you" often translates to "I'm curious if you're still available for my needs," rather than genuine care for your well-being. "We should catch up" usually means "I want to see if you've maintained your boundaries," or "I want to test if you're still the person I could easily influence." "I miss how we used to be" is perhaps the most telling message of all. It translates to "I miss having access to the version of you I could control." It's not about missing your friendship or connection, it's about missing the dynamic where they had more power and you had fewer boundaries. "You seem so different" really means you're not as manageable as before, and it bothers me. Understanding these translations helps you respond from a place of clarity rather than hope. When you can see the real motivation behind their contact, you can choose how much energy, if any, you want to invest in responding. Sometimes, instead of subtle manipulation, people resort to overwhelming displays of affection or attention when they want back into your life. This love bombing feels intense and flattering, but it's important to recognize it for what it is, a strategy rather than genuine transformation. Spotting fake transformation requires looking at patterns rather than promises. Sudden, overwhelming affection or attention that coincides with your visible success is suspicious. Grand gestures without consistent small actions over time suggest performance rather than genuine change. Promises of transformation without evidence of actual inner work are red flags disguised as green ones. The timing is often the most revealing aspect of love-bombing attempts. If someone's sudden interest in changing coincides with your success, new relationship, or increased independence, it's likely motivated by fear of losing access to you rather than genuine desire for personal growth. Trust your gut when something feels too convenient or perfectly timed. If their transformation seems to have appeared overnight, especially in response to your growth or happiness, approach it with healthy skepticism rather than hope. Protecting your peace requires developing practical strategies for managing the people who drain your energy. The information diet involves limiting what you share and with whom, recognizing that not everyone deserves access to your updates, struggles, or successes. You learn to be selective about what information you release and to whom, understanding that some people collect information about you for reasons that don't serve your best interests. The grey rock method becomes useful when dealing with people who thrive on drama or emotional reactions. Being boring when they seek engagement removes the entertainment value they're looking for. You respond with neutral, brief answers that don't provide fuel for gossip or manipulation attempts. Boundary reinforcement requires consistently maintaining your standards, even when people test them. Every time you maintain a boundary, despite pushback, you strengthen your ability to protect your peace. You learn that boundaries aren't suggestions, they're requirements for access to your energy. The circle audit involves regularly evaluating who deserves access to your time, energy, and emotional space. Not everyone who wants to be in your life has earned the right to be there. You learn to be intentional about who gets your attention and energy, understanding that your peace is too valuable to be distributed indiscriminately. As you protect your energy from those who drain it, you create space for people who enhance it. The green flags in new relationships are distinctly different from what you used to accept. They ask about your goals and actually listen to your answers rather than waiting for their turn to speak or change the subject. They celebrate your wins without making your success about their own insecurities or failures. They respect your boundaries without testing them, understanding that boundaries are signs of self-respect rather than personal rejection. They bring their own growth energy to the relationship, creating connections based on mutual evolution rather than stagnation or codependency. Consider listing 3 qualities you want in your inner circle moving forward. Be specific about the energy you want to surround yourself with and the types of connections that honor your growth rather than threaten it. Something fundamental has shifted in how you move through the world. You know your worth and won't negotiate it, regardless of who's asking you to accept less. You can spot insincerity immediately because you've learned to trust your instincts over people's words. You're not afraid to be alone rather than accept connections that diminish your peace or self-respect. Most importantly, you trust your intuition over their words. You've learned that people's actions reveal their true intentions, regardless of what they say. This ability to see clearly and trust yourself is perhaps the most threatening aspect of your transformation to those who preferred when you doubted yourself. Your unshakable confidence isn't arrogance. It's the natural result of choosing yourself consistently over time. It's built on evidence of your own resilience, growth, and ability to create the life you want, rather than accepting whatever others offer you. Something fundamental has shifted in how you move through the world. You know your worth and won't negotiate it, regardless of who's asking you to accept less. You can spot insincerity immediately because you've learned to trust your instincts over people's words. You're not afraid to be alone rather than accept connections that diminish your peace or self-respect. Most importantly, you trust your intuition over their words. You've learned that people's actions reveal their true intentions, regardless of what they say. This ability to see clearly and trust yourself is perhaps the most threatening aspect of your transformation to those who preferred when you doubted yourself. Your unshakable confidence isn't arrogance. It's the natural result of choosing yourself consistently over time. It's built on evidence of your own resilience, growth, and ability to create the life you want, rather than accepting whatever others offer you. The opportunities coming your way will match your new energy and standards. You're attracting relationships that honor your growth rather than fear it. The success you're building feels authentic to who you've become rather than performed for others' approval. Most satisfying of all, you're experiencing the deep contentment that comes from trusting yourself and your choices. What's coming for you includes connections with people who see your value without needing to diminish it, opportunities that align with your values and vision, and the continued satisfaction of choosing yourself even when it's uncomfortable for others. Consider writing a letter from your future self thanking you for staying strong during this transformation period. Your future self will be grateful that you didn't shrink back to accommodate others' discomfort with your growth. Your growth is not negotiable, and you don't need to shrink to fit old spaces that no longer serve you. Not everyone will celebrate your evolution, and that's not only okay, it's expected. Your discernment is your superpower, so trust what you see and feel rather than what others tell you to believe. The right people will find you when you're authentic to your growth rather than performing for others' comfort. You're exactly where you need to be, even when it feels uncomfortable or lonely. Your next level is calling, and you're ready to answer because you've learned the most important lesson of personal transformation. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Remember that your transformation is valid, even when others can't. See it or accept it. You've worked too hard to shrink back to their comfort zone. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It's the foundation of everything good that's coming your way.